Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. Today is Friday, October 9th, 2020. And this week has felt like a year. Oh, what has happened this week? I can't even remember. Yesterday there was an FBI raid that arrested people in Michigan for plotting to kidnap the governor. The day before that, there was the vice presidential debate. That was Wednesday. I think Trump went back to the White House on Monday. What else has happened? like these, for many of us not going to many places, there seems to be a lot happening. Maybe it's just because we're all paying attention to the news more, or so many of us are just sitting and looking at our phones or looking at our screens, listening to the radio and just hearing what's happening in the world. And maybe because it's getting closer to the election and all these different stories are coming out. It's getting to crunch time. It's in the last few minutes of the game, and people are throwing everything that they possibly have to see what sticks. They say throw it at the wall to see if it sticks. Yeah, there's what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about how often we don't think there's any rational reason for why people would make a certain choice, or that we can't even comprehend why somebody would make a choice. But then when we dig into it a little deeper, especially we dig into the emotions of what's going on in that person, we could figure out why they're making the choice they're making. And so this has happened to me a lot when I look at why people would support Trump. And from my standpoint, I can't fathom it many times. I'm very confused. It seems to make very little sense to me. But when I dig into it, again, like I talked about maybe yesterday, where some people are very frustrated that we've had these economic shutdowns across the country because it has kind of forced them to lose their job, which means force them to lose a lot of their income, which means force them maybe to lose their house or other things, that maybe their spouse and other things like that. So when I really look into it that way, if these people have lost their jobs, or they've lost their economic strength, or they've lost relationships as a result of the economic shutdown, and they don't know anyone who has contracted COVID. I talked to some relatives and they're like, I don't know anyone who got it. And for me, it's like, I know, gosh, across the world, I probably know at least 10 people, if not 20 people, who have already told me that they got it. And I know at least 3 people who knew people directly that died from it. And that was in the first couple of weeks. So for me, there is the COVID thing is very real. And I can feel the pain of that. And I can see that pain. Economically, I'm in a very similar situation as I was before. And so is most of my family and a lot of my friends. So it doesn't seem too harsh from that standpoint. So maybe it's a lot of times we just don't understand emotionally what the other person is going through. Same thing when Trump talks about H1N1. I was surprised. I was talking with someone on Twitter today, and I read that, like this one person said, oh, Obama or Biden did nothing when H1N1 ravaged the country. And I said, ravaged? I'm like, I don't remember it ravaging the country. And I asked the person, do you think it ravaged the country? And she said that her son got it when he was in the military in Afghanistan. I was like, oh, I'm wondering if it ravaged the military. I still don't believe at all that it ravaged the country. But it could have ravaged the military, or at least the branch of the military where her son was. And she mentioned that there was another virus that went through the military and her other son got it. And so for me, it didn't affect me. It didn't impact me directly, but it may have really impacted her. And she said one of the reasons she's voting for Trump is because Trump is committed to pull the troops out of Afghanistan. And so from my perspective, because I'm not in the military and I don't know a lot of people in the military, I frankly don't like war at all. I don't think killing people resolves many problems. I think it just escalates and perpetuates problems. But from what I've read with a lot of the military generals, they think pulling out of Afghanistan would be a mistake because it would basically just kind of leave the place in disarray. I don't really know what the answer is, but I could see from her perspective, it seems she really wants the troops out of Afghanistan because how deeply it may have impacted her personally. With her, maybe the fear that she had when her son was over there, or the fear that her son was going to die, or the anger at why he had to go there, or what was the whole point of it, or the confusion over that, or who knows, the frustration with how he is now. Maybe he came back with some form of moral injury or something that, maybe before he went there, he was very smiley, and on the way back, now he's very depressed and angry. I mean, I've done some work with military vets, and some of them have like a very strong change after they come back. And unfortunately, that leads to some of them to be highly depressed or addicted to drugs or alcohol or suicidal or even homicidal. And so for me, when Trump says a lot of his stuff, it doesn't make sense. Why the heck would he say something like that? For the overall country, it doesn't seem to be the best thing. But how many of us vote on what would be best for the overall country instead of voting on what we think would be best for us and the people that we care about? I think I want to start looking at a lot of the things that Trump says and try to reevaluate it from this perspective. Again, not as if it's a good or bad thing, but just who is he saying this to? Who feels a deep emotional connection to what he's saying? The specific things he's saying, not everything, but like certain things. So for example, when he talks about building a wall with Mexico, there must be some people who feel very emotionally triggered maybe, or very like emotionally alerted when he says something like that because of, I would imagine, what happened in their life or the lives of the people that they care about. I heard a story, about a relative who went down to Mexico and who was driving a truck, and they kind of hijacked the truck and took everything that was in the trailer. And I think he had like 4-wheelers or something in the trailer. And so I've been told throughout my life that don't go to Mexico. Mexico's dangerous. I'm thinking, why does this person think Mexico's so dangerous? Oh, because their relative got hijacked there. Therefore, okay. Therefore, it's a dangerous place. So personally, there's that deep emotional pain, trauma, memory that says, oh, no, don't. This is the correct way to go. So I think many of us, especially us who are not voting for Trump, I think many of us don't see how the things that he says really, really resonate with some people, and can't comprehend why they resonate, or don't even dig deeper in to see why they resonate with people. If I look at Trump, I think many of his behaviors are that of, he's very good at knowing what other people are feeling and playing on those feelings. So I don't know if you call that manipulation, or if you call I call it just very focused on step 2, which means he's very, 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 very focused on how other people feel and not that focused on he feels, which I would call step 1. But very, very focused on that. So when he's saying things, I think a lot of us think, oh, he's just flippantly saying this. It's not really that big of a deal. But for some people, he is speaking the honest to God truth, and he is reaching something that is so deep in their soul that, wow, yeah, he's reaching so deep and saying something that they so deeply want to hear that it probably can seem magical at times. I mean, I think that's the tricky thing with understanding how somebody else is feeling, is that, if somebody understands really deeply how I'm feeling and I'm not saying it, they get me. It's very powerful. It can be terrifying sometimes, but it can also be exhilarating. It's like falling in love and the other person knows you so well. It can be a lovely feeling, but they can also push your buttons so deeply when you're in pain. They know how to hurt you just as much as they know how to love you. And I wonder if people who are supporting him feel this, that he knows what to say at the right time to get to these people. My challenge with someone who just understands how the other person is feeling and not really says how they're feeling is that it can feel quite manipulative and distancing at times. It's like when I go out with somebody and they ask me a lot of questions and I realize I've talked for the first 30 minutes and I know nothing about them. When I realize that, I'm like, wait a second, this feels like a very imbalanced relationship. Then I actually get worried because I don't know what their intentions are. What are they trying to do? I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I'm just, And so that's kind of how the way I feel about Trump. So even if Trump would say something that seems pretty spot on, I'd be like, what does he actually believe? What does he actually want to do? Is he just trying to like stir me up into a fervor and get me into this like hypnotized state and then go do something else? I don't know. I think this has helped me a lot realize that what he is saying, while it may not resonate with 90, like who knows what percentage of the population, 50, 60, 70, 80% of the population, there may be 20% of the population who hears it and goes, that's it. That's it. So for this thing with Afghanistan, maybe this mother hears, oh, finally a president is going to have the courage to pull us out of these wars because Bush didn't and Obama didn't and Clinton got us into other wars and all this stuff. Like, oh, okay. So especially for Bush and Obama, the last 16 years before Trump, God, it was 16 years, yeah. Last 16 years before Trump got us into and kept us in these wars where my son almost died. I'm not having that anymore. So finally a president will come along and have the courage to take us out of those wars. Now, that person, if that's what she's feeling, is maybe feeling relief and excitement and hope that she may not have to think that her son's going to die in a war that doesn't mean anything. And that doesn't take in consideration what the military generals think or what the academics think or what these other people think is good for the war and good for the country, because who knows? And for her, what matters is, the health and well-being of the people she cares about. And who knows, maybe, there's arguments it's better for the country because why are we spending all this money over in a foreign country and trying to control the country and colonize it and do all these things to fix Afghanistan. And some people in Afghanistan want us there, other people don't want us there. And so, are we really welcomed? Are we not welcomed? Is it worth losing American lives over? Is it worth killing Afghani people? Afghani, I think. Or the number of people who've died in Iraq as well. It's a lot of people. So there are arguments to be made, I think, at the collective level as well, whether it is good or bad for society. I mean, I think overall, almost everything is good and bad. But I don't know how often we make those arguments or at least we connect to them. I think emotionally we connect to how it's going to impact me and the people I deeply care about. And yeah, so with regards to that, perhaps that's it. Maybe, when we talk about taxes and some people, oh my God, Trump saved people $2,000, $4,000 a year. And some people, oh, I hate the taxes. I don't want to pay taxes. It's like, okay, why? Emotionally, why do people not want to pay these taxes? What is deeper there? Did they get screwed over by the government? Did they have the government foreclose on their home before and they don't want to give any money to the government? Did they work for the government and get betrayed by somebody within the government? I have a friend who was in the military, and he doesn't like the media because he thinks the media screwed up everything that was happening in the military and didn't report it. He's like, I'm on the ground. I know what's happening, and the media is not reporting it the same way. So he didn't trust them. I have friends in technology, it's the same thing. They're like, this is what actually happening in tech. And this is actually what's happening in tech, but the media reports it wrong. Somebody commented, no, people just want to keep more money. Yeah, but why do people have such a strong aversion to giving money to the government? People spend a lot of money on a lot of things, but there seems to be this strong hatred for a lot of people in giving money to the government. Whereas they'll gladly go and splash it on other things. So what I don't understand is why. Maybe it's because it's forced and they have to give it. But I still think that somehow in the U.S. we seem to have, many of us have a strong aversion to paying taxes. Whereas I don't think it's so strong in other countries, especially countries where people think the government gives very good services. I could be wrong, but I think to me it speaks deeper on why we don't have faith in the government. Maybe not. Maybe it's just people want to keep more money and they want to hoard as much money. But even then, why do people want to hoard money? Perhaps I'm going too deep on this, but I think a lot of people want to hoard money out of fear that they're going to run out of things, out of fear that if they get in trouble, nobody will help them. So the only way that they can get help is if they have a lot of money, or because they were raised and they didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so they don't want to go back into that state of deprivation or of feeling shame and having to ask others for money. So the follow-up comment, because the government is bureaucratic and wasteful. Yeah, many companies are bureaucratic and wasteful too, though, but we still give money to them. I mean, I agree with you, but I guess why? But then we have a choice to give it to the companies or not. I guess maybe that's the argument. They will spend $1,000 on ketchup in the military and earmark for their own gain. I don't know if it's, I don't know how often that happens. I think but then again, I don't know personally. I have some friends that do some research on like bribery and stuff like this in Congress. And he basically says that it doesn't happen that often, not nearly as often as we think it does. Or if it does, it happens for something like that on a small scale and not really on a very large scale. But then again, who knows? And does it really matter whether it's happening or not, or does it matter what our perspective is and what we think is happening? I argue our perspective and our belief matters more in many situations than what's actually happening. Because if we believe that that's happening, then we may see it in a negative light. I talked to my friend yesterday about this and how often in relationships, it can go either way. It could be, either person in the relationship, in the romantic relationship, thinking that the other person doesn't like them that much and that that person is probably off cheating with somebody else. And making sly, snide remarks about it all the time. Oh, you were probably out with that other person doing this. Oh, you're probably off, with your other partner. Oh, you're probably going on dates when I'm not around. Things like that. This idea that we don't trust the other person, which can lead that other person to doing the distrustful behavior. Because it's like, how hard do I have to fight What can I do to prove to you that I'm not doing the thing you think I'm doing? I've tried to bend over backwards to show you I'm not doing that thing. But if you don't believe me, what's the point? I think it happens. I've seen it a lot in relationships where like the girl doesn't trust the guy, and the guy's like, "Listen, I am." She's, "Oh, you're off cheating. You're sleeping with some other girl. You're doing this." And I'm like, and it's happened to me. And I'm like, "No. Do you know how hard it is for me to not do that sometimes?" But I'm not. "Oh, I don't believe you." It's like, okay, well, if you don't believe me, what can I do to get you to believe me? And so at some point I get to the point where it's like, how hard do I have to fight for you to trust me? What do I have to do for you to trust me? And I know how much that hurts on the receiving end, but I know I'm also guilty of doing it as well to other people, thinking, "Oh, I think I like this person more than they like me. Oh, maybe they're not responding to me because they don't really care about me. Oh, I think a lot of us do this." But I don't think we see how that can become almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. It hurts to not be trusted. It hurts to think that everyone thinks I'm corrupt, or I'm cheating, or I'm dishonest. So I can only imagine as a politician how much that would hurt, to think, "Oh, you're a politician, therefore you're crooked and corrupt and evil." What? I got into this because I wanted to help. No, but you've been in it for too long, so obviously you're crooked and corrupted and evil. It's like, no, I'll show you all my records. It doesn't matter what your records say. It doesn't matter how many investigations you do. I know you're crooked. It's like, what do I have to do to prove to you I'm not crooked? And at some point, if you always assume that I'm going to be crooked no matter what I do, maybe I might as well be crooked, because I'll at least get the benefits of being crooked. Like right now, I'm being not crooked, but you're thinking I'm crooked. I'm losing on both fronts. So I guess I think a lot of times in relationships, we have this perspective because somebody burned us in the past. We're in a relationship and somebody cheated on us, or somebody lied to us, or somebody betrayed us in some way. And I want to get better personally at repairing this trust and rebuilding the trust, because people are going to betray us in life. If we trust people, people will betray us. If we don't trust people, we almost assume that everyone is going to betray us. And we're almost stuck in this permanent state of betrayal. I don't know. I personally want to choose to trust more people and try to rebuild the trust. So somebody says, implicitly trust all politicians. I want to try to rebuild the trust in many of them, and in all of them. I want to try to rebuild it. Now, it doesn't mean I'm always going to trust their behaviors, but I want to try more than anything to rebuild my trust in their intentions. Because sometimes, the way that I look at it, I think trust can operate on a deeper level. So I think intentions often come into it more so than their abilities. So, for example, if a little kid punches me, a little kid trips, and especially a couple years old, like trips and punches me or something, they'd be like, "Oh, such a cute baby. He hit me." Now it hurt, but I didn't think the baby was trying to like attack me. Oh, especially like a baby bites you, a baby grabs your finger and does something like this. It hurts sometimes. Like, "Hey, man, let go of my finger." But I'm not thinking that this baby is this evil thing trying to rip my finger off, because I don't think the baby has that deep intention to hurt me. It's more just exploring and playing with the world. Same thing with puppies, and we often give this benefit of the doubt, the benefit of the intention to young animals, to baby animals. But as the animals grow up, we often see that they have deep intention. The dog bit me because it hurts me, it hates me, it wants to attack me. It's like, no, maybe the dog bit me because I ran away, and dogs are instinctively trained to chase after things that are running and grab them in the butt. I was 5 years old. I think it was like 5 or 6 years old. I got bit in the butt by a dog. And for many years, I think I carried a lot of anger towards dogs, because this dog bit me in the butt. And I thought, this dog was trying to hurt me. It didn't like me. No, maybe the dog was just being a dog. Like, you know? Um, Whereas I think so for a lot of politicians, there are many politicians who I personally don't believe have the skill set that I want to see in a politician. So I don't think that they're very good at reading or writing legislation or convincing other people to vote on a legislation or building consensus or compromising. This was in the more like legislative branch. Or in the executive branch, I don't think the person is very good at making decisions. I don't think the person is very good at trying to incorporate information from many different sources, so different secretaries and things like this. I don't think the person is very good at diplomatic relationships, or I don't think the person is very good at delivering an inspiring message to the country, or I don't think the person is very good at having the courage to make a decision that other people might be afraid to make. But I can still trust that they're trying, you know what I mean? Like that they have good intentions, or that they're not trying to come out and hurt everyone. And I think what bothers me a lot is how much animosity we seem to hold towards other people, especially towards people in politics. That these people are trying to screw us over, that they are corrupt and they don't care about us. Again, maybe this happens because we have certain things happening in our lives and we've been burned in the past and we hold on to this. Somebody hurt us deeply. We thought they cared about us, but they don't care about us. Or at least that's what we believe. And I think we can, I don't know, I want to try to rebuild the trust. I don't know. I think it's a choice. Will I ever know that they have good intentions towards me? Will I ever know that they care about me? No, I don't think there's any way to prove it. How do I prove it? How do you prove that someone loves you? How do you prove that someone cares about you? The same way, how do you prove that someone does not care about you? Or how do you prove that someone does not love you? For me, it comes down to a choice. Which one do I choose to believe? If I choose to believe that people don't care about me and people don't love me or people are out to get me, I feel quite miserable. If I choose to believe that people actually care about me, that people are struggling with their own stuff, that people love and care, love me more than they say they do and more than I might think that they do, I feel so much more relaxed. I feel a bit free. So, I don't know. This started off as a conversation about trying to understand why people support Trump on certain aspects and the emotional memory that they have when he says certain things. And I think a lot of times we assume it's about hatred for another person, but I think more than often it's about the pain and the fear that they have that someone that they really care about is going to get hurt. And so it's about protecting the people that they really care about. So this woman saying, I'll vote for him because he says he wants to get out of Afghanistan, which means my son won't go to Afghanistan, or other people like my son won't possibly die, which means I won't have the fear of so much pain of losing a son. And I hear that. It's heavy. I don't know what that's like. I wish we talked about this stuff more often, about the pain and the suffering and the struggle that we have instead of the hatred that we have for others, because often that hatred stems from the suffering that we're feeling, from what's going on now, and more than anything from what's happened to us in the past that we're still holding on to. So with that all being said, maybe next week I'm going to try at nighttime. This 1 p.m. thing. There aren't too many people in the U.S. who are watching it 1 p.m. during the week. So maybe we'll try evening and see how that goes. But thank you all for joining in, for the comments, and look forward to chatting with y'all about life and politics and emotions another time. All right. Have a weekend.